Oi, gente, bom dia. Tudo bom? Como é que está a retomada aí dos estudos? Retomamos na quarta-feira, hoje estamos concluindo a primeira semana dessa nova etapa. Já já vamos estar juntos na escola, né? Na nossa sala de aula. Mas, por enquanto, essas aulas estão sendo dadas via YouTube e os professores estão dando o seu melhor. É maravilhoso ter cada um de vocês nessa sala, na nossa sala de aula do primeiro ano Alfa. E nós desejamos que esse processo seja bastante produtivo para cada um. Aproveitem bem, aproveitem as aulas e não deixem de estudar em casa, porque o estudo em casa é fundamental. Um abraço bastante grande, carinhoso e desejo a todos um excelente final de semana. Paz e saúde para vocês e para a família. Grande beijo. Professora?
Thank you, lady.
Oh,
now you say everything in English.
Well, I'm very glad to be with you and I wish you a very, very happy weekend.
Woo! High five. Okay, you guys, you see? We've had a special visitor for our class. We're going to make a second attempt to show you guys the video, but if it doesn't work, Renata is going to send you home, okay? It's because we are Brazilians and we never give up. So we have decided to give it a second chance. Gabriel, we're going to see if it works. If it doesn't work, don't worry, we're going to send it home to you guys.
To see that our people have got enough electricity for the street lighting, because where there is light, the crime will be lower. The issue of traffic congestion, that is communication, transportation, and that is our greatest challenge as well.
Development with happiness.
I'm sure you guys know what mayors are, right? The person who governs, who represents a city is called a mayor. And there you had testimonies from different mayors from different cities around the world. Hopefully, you could make a comparison between priorities to see that some priorities, they are the same for all over the world, but some vary from place to place and from situation to situation. Okay? Now we're going to get back to our word exercises, our vocabulary exercise. Gabriel, volta para. That's it. So this is where we stopped. We were in the verb to foster, right? And we're going to move on. Just one thing. I know in the description of the activity, it says to find the meaning in Portuguese. And so in the end, I'm going to show you the meaning in Portuguese. But because we're able to communicate in English, we don't find the need to use Portuguese as often, right? So hopefully you guys can understand the meaning in English. But in the end, I'll show you the result, the answer in Portuguese, in case it helps you out. Okay? Okay, but anyway, Gabriel, next. The next expression, because it's not a word, is the expression living standards. contributing to improved living standards and prosperity. What is a living standard? If you understand the word standard as similar to pattern, as similar to a group of characteristics that are repeated, then you are going to understand what living standard means, right? So it's a noun, and it means the quality of housing, material comfort, and wealth experienced by an individual or group. So, a decline in basic living standards. It would be a decline in the general quality of housing, of eating, of studying, access to education, and wealth. That would be your living standard. Okay? Next, Gabriel, one more. Therefore is maybe one of the most common words in this whole exercise. It's very easy to remember this word, and we use it a lot, right? So the sentence in the text says, therefore, a system of value sharing is needed to address the investment needs. Therefore is an adverb, and it means for that reason, consequently, he was injured and therefore unable to play. It is also a conjunction, a connector that connects sentences together, right? So, today is Friday. Therefore, I am here at Antares teaching these lessons. Okay? So it can be the connectors that combine two sentences together. I forgot to say something I was going to say in the beginning of the class. Since it's Friday, you know that in the United States, they use the acronym TGIF a lot. Have you ever heard this expression, TGIF? It's an acronym that stands for Thank God It's Friday. So, because it is such a general feeling, and because it's so common for everybody to want to celebrate that day is Friday, maybe the perfect translation would be our sexto, right? So when you talk to people and it is Friday, you look at people and you say, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. So like Lady said, it was a short week, right? But anyway, TGIF, right? Okay, you guys. Gabriel, next. As I promised, the meaning of the words in Portuguese, so that you can write in the exercise if you find the need to translate it to Portuguese. So throughout means ao longo de. Patterns, padrões. Unsustainable, insustentáveis. Over-reliance, dependência exagerada. Sprawl, expansão urbana. Merely, simplesmente. Thoughtfully, cuidadosamente. Disruptive, disruptivo. Living standard, padrões de vida. Fosters, estimula, fomenta, promove. Forthcoming, futuras. E therefore, portanto. Okay? So these were the words in our exercise. Now, let's take a look at the next exercise. Exercise number 3. Gabriel, next. Exercise number 3 says, the word actually highlighted in the text can be replaced by all the following options, except, I'm going to wait for your answers. Renata, eles vão responder A, B, C ou D, aí você me diz o que está aparecendo aí, ok? One A or 2 A's? Okay, it seems like we have an unanimous response, right? Perfect, guys. It doesn't mean nowadays. This is A specific case of one of the most common false cognates, right? I'm sure you've studied the cognates in English, which are words that because they share the same base as a word in Portuguese, you can easily recognize, because since it's the same base, when you see it in Portuguese, when you see it in English, you're able to understand. But it doesn't work 100% of the time, because you have the false cognate, which are words that you expect they will have the same meaning, but then they have a completely different meaning in Portuguese. Actually is one of these words, right? Because of the similarity, we tend to think that actually would be atualmente, and that's not the case. So that's why the correct answer would be nowadays, because that's the word you really use when you mean to say atualmente, hoje em dia. In English, you would say nowadays. Actually is an expression you use when you need to correct information. When someone makes a prediction, supposes something, and you want to politely show them that that's not the precise information. So it's a nice way to make a correction when someone affirms something that's not true. For example, you come to me and you say, I know you, your name is Alhandra, right? And I say, actually, my name is Alhandra. So I am politely correcting the information. And it could be any other piece of information, right? I could say, I don't know, I could make a generalization like, all Brazilians are not punctual. And you can say, actually, most Brazilians are. So when you want to correct a piece of information, you can start this correction by saying actually, because it makes it sound more formal, more appropriate, more delicate, even more, it will be politer, right? It could be substituted by all the other three expressions. Really, indeed, and in fact. Okay? So the correct response would be letter A. Perfect, guys. Nice job. Let's move on. I have the explanation in Portuguese, which says letra A, o advérbio actually, que pode ser traduzido por na verdade, realmente, pode ser perfeitamente substituído por in fact, really, e indeed. Okay? Perfect. Next, Gabriel. The next exercises are actually your homework. Actually your homework. Are indeed your homework. So these exercises, we're not going to do it now. We're not going to do them now. You're going to do at home. But I have something to ask you guys to do. I would really appreciate if you could answer this exercise and send me on my email. I'm going to give you my email in the end of the presentation. Because if you send them to me, I can correct them, and I can also use your answers as we discuss this topic, as we go over these exercises next class. Because many of these are opinions, right? They are open answers. So if I discuss with you guys, the only answer I'm going to have to present is my own. And I would rather have your answers. So I'm going to go over the exercise, what you have to do. And then in the end, the last slide is going to show you my email. So please, if you find it easy, do it in the email. I promise I'm going to correct and respond to you. So you're going to get your correction back. But I can also, next class, as I go over the answers, I can say, okay, this student said this student said that, and this is going to make us be closer together. Okay? So please do it. Send it in my email. So anyway, just to go over the exercise. Number 4 says, answer the following questions in Portuguese. You can answer it in English. If you send me in English, I'm going to correct it. If you send it in Portuguese, I'm going to correct it the same way, okay? But if you can do it in English, do it in English. So, A, what is the author's opinion as far as urbanization is concerned? Which challenges generated by development are presented in the first part of the text? B. According to the author of the text, John Claus, why shouldn't the city's growth be seen simply as a threat, but instead as a transformative source of prosperity and sustainable development of all human communities? So, questions based on the reading for you to answer. Gabriel, next. 5. Answer the following questions in English. In the third part of the text, the author presents some opportunities that cities of the future can bring. Cite 3 of them. What is the role of the public-private partnerships, the PPPs, concerning the cities of the future? And 6, now that you've read the text, write a summary in English containing the most important information presented by the text. Approach the 3 parts of the text. Okay? So, if you feel comfortable, do it, send it to me, and I promise I'll correct it and get it back to you. Gabriel, can you press on the next slide? Now, this is my email, okay? You can send your homework to alhandra.morais@collegioantares.com.br so that we can discuss your answers next class. Please type in your names, okay? So that I know you guys are responding and we can go over your answers next class, okay? Feel free to send them to me. Okay, so with this, we're ending the part of our class that deals with the text, with the reading comprehension. It's actually a very nice text to read, and it talks about a very present issue, right? Something that is part of our lives, and it can help us think about how we live our lives in the big cities and how it can be better or worse depending on the way we look at it. But now we're going to approach a grammatical topic, and we're going to talk about the future, okay? So, done with the text, we're going to move on to future. So please, Gabriel, you can go to the next slide. In English, you can approach the future with using 4 different tenses, okay? So, first, the book shows that there are 2 present tenses that can actually talk about the future. You see, I'm using actually all the time now. But anyway, there are 2 present tenses that they can refer to the future when you feel the need to use them. It's the simple present and the present continuous. Of course, primarily, they deal with present situations. We know that, right? We use the simple present when we want to talk about habits, conditions that are constant happening in the present. For example, when I say I work at Antares, it's because this is a constant situation in my life. And we use the present continuous when we want to talk about a situation that is happening right now, at this moment. So right now I'm recording a class, okay? So this is the typical use of the present, the simple present and the present continuous. But what the book shows us, and you probably know already, is that they can also refer to the future in specific scenarios. So the simple present can talk about the future when you are talking about an information that is constant. For example, the next bus comes at 7. So I'm not making a prediction, I'm not imagining. I'm saying it comes at 7 because it is a constant, true information. The bus always comes at 7. So the next bus comes at 7. So I'm talking about the future, but I am using the simple present. Okay? Is that clear? If I say, if I am here in the entrance and someone asks me, what time does the class start? And I say, class starts That's 8 now, right? Are you guys sleeping a little longer? I am. But anyway, so when I say the class starts at 8, if it's before 8, I am talking about a future, but I am using the simple present because it is constant. Okay? It is a future that always happened at that time, so I can use the simple present. The other situation when you use the simple present to talk about the future is when you are talking about a non-future, a future that you know is going to happen. And this is very common when you talk about spoilers, for example. When I am telling you what you are going to see in the movie you haven't seen yet. So I can come to you and say, oh, you're going to see this movie. This is the movie. This is a great movie. The couple gets married in Hawaii. And they get divorced there. So I am using the simple present to talk about a future because you are still going to see it, you are still going to watch the movie, but because it's a non-future, I know what's going to happen, I can use the simple present. So this is what you see when you read, because I'm sure you don't read it, but if you read it, when you have those plots for today's soap opera. So today, what's going to happen? This lady marries that guy, and this guy finds a job, and the description, because the future is known, you use simple present. Okay? So yes, you can use the simple present to talk about the future. And the rules for the simple present, I'm sure you guys know by heart by now. So you know that when the subject is he, she, it, and the sentence is affirmative, you have to add an S to the verb. The auxiliary for the question and for the negative is do, but it can also be does for he, she, or it, and so forth and so on. Okay? So we're not here to show you how to deal with the simple present. I'm sure you are aware of how to use it. It's just to let you know how to use the simple present in the future and what idea it is going to bring. The second present tense that you also use to talk about the future is the present continuous. By the way, this is on page 73 in your books, okay? It's at the bottom of the page. So, the present continuous also refers to the future. And generally, you're going to use the present continuous when it's an imminent future. It's something that is right about to happen. It's very close. Because it is so immediate, you use the present continuous. You are going to say, I'm traveling to São Paulo at 7 p.m. So because I consider it so soon, it's still going to happen today, I can use the present continuous. Okay? They are buying a car tomorrow. Because it is so near, it's so about to happen, I can use it with the present continuous. And the rules for the present continuous, I also believe you guys are aware and know by heart. You have to have the verb to be in the present, am, is, or are, and you also have to have a main verb in ing form. Okay? So, these are two present tenses that you can use to talk about the future. Then you have two specific future tenses that you use to refer specifically to the future. And these futures are the future with will and the future with going to. I do believe this is easy for you guys. And I do believe the rules are pretty simple. But we're just going to go over it as we review all future tenses. Okay? So, the simple future has two different forms, will and be going to. For example, I will wash the car later. I am going to play football for Man U, a team. Okay? So these are the two different structures. Now, you use it in different situations. This is grammatical knowledge, and I'm sure you will find lots of exceptions. You're going to find people using going to and will in all different scenarios without much consideration. Oh, this is the proper one for this situation. Communicatively, what we need to know is that there are different rules for organizing the sentence, but they both talk about the future. So when you're talking in English, you're going to make yourself understood if you use either one or the other. People will understand you. There are some expressions that will usually come with will, or usually will be used with going to. And by definition, you're going to find that they have different meanings. But again, when you watch TV, when you see the news, when you travel abroad, you're going to see people using it sometimes interchangeably, okay? But we're going to go with how they are used by definition, okay? So anyway, you use will to talk about predictions, to make promises, and to talk about immediate decisions. I'm going to break this one by one, okay? A prediction, by nature, is something that you're dealing with imagination. When I make a prediction, it's because I am not taking specific actions for something to occur. I am making a prediction. I am imagining what it's going to be like, and I am trying to get it right. So, for example, if you ask me, what do you think life will be like after the quarantine? What do you think life will be like after the quarantine? I am not talking about myself. I am not talking about something I can control or I can take action in order for something to occur. I am making a prediction. I am trying to imagine the scenario. Okay? Things like this, I use the future with will. Now, when I say that something will happen, it's because in my prediction, in the way I see it, I am sure it's going to happen. That's why it's a prediction, but it holds an idea of certainty. It's because it's a prediction I'm sure is going to happen. If I weren't sure, I would say, it may happen, it might happen, okay? But still a prediction. It's not a scenario I control. So I say, when the quarantine is over, people will run free on the streets of Fortaleza. So I'm making a prediction. I use will. Okay? Guys, if you have questions, please type, okay? You type in Portuguese and then Renata's going to ask me. If I'm going too fast, you can also say it. But anyway, do you understand the concept of a prediction? It is imaginative. I have no control over it. But still, I am sure it's going to happen. In my opinion, this is what's going to take place. It is also will that I use with expressions like I promise, I swear. You know? So if I say, guys, I promise I will be here next Friday. The expression promise and swear, they are followed by will, if it involves a promise for the future. And also, immediate decision. What is an immediate decision? It's something that I wasn't planning, but somehow this is the scenario that presents itself, so I just decided to do this. I will. So when it's an immediate decision, I also use will. I'm going to show you 3 sentences. That is an example for each scenario I presented. Okay? For a prediction, things will get more complicated in the future. So, suppose I am talking about life in big cities, and I say, guys, things will get more complicated in the future. Is it something I control, something I'm planning, something that I am basing my actions in order to get to that result? No. But if I say will, it's because, in my opinion, this will definitely happen. So I say things will get more complicated in the future. Okay? The second scenario is promise or swear. the sentence. I promise I will pay you tomorrow. I promise I will pay you tomorrow. So because of the verbs that involve promises, it asks for will as its complement. And the third scenario is the scenario for an immediate decision. We are here at the party, we're having fun, it's awesome, and then suddenly I notice everyone is leaving. And well, I was going to stay here all throughout the night, but I see everybody is leaving, so since the party is over, I'll go home. I will go home. So it was an immediate decision. It was something that I just decided to do. So this is the third scenario. I would use will. So far, so good. Can you guys understand the concept? Questions? Make sure you ask me. Make sure you email me, and I'm going to answer your questions. Okay? Next. The future tense using will is formed by adding will after the personal pronoun or after the noun, because I can use a word, not a pronoun, right? And before the main verb. So people will feel better. I have the subject, people. If I were to substitute people for a pronoun, it would be they, right? They. People will, there you have it. After that, you have the main verb, feel, always the main verb in its base form. What is the base form? Is the infinitive, to feel without to. That's the base form, okay? So people will feel better. I am making a prediction, right? People will feel better. She will sing on TV. Again, you have the pronoun. After that, you have will. Then you have the verb in its base form, sing on TV. And the sun will shine. Again, the subject, the noun, sun, will, and the verb in its base form, shine. Okay? Gabriel, next. So, also, just to mention, but we're going to study this in further detail in the upcoming classes, in the forthcoming classes. I'm using the words we learned today. So in the forthcoming classes, we're going to go over exercises. But just remember that will, you're going to use will the same way you use the verb to be, right? So when you have a question, people will feel better. If I want to change it into a question, I am going to say, will people feel better? So I use will before the subject. And the negative, I am going to use will not or its contraction, won't. People won't feel better. Okay? As for the future with going to, how do I use it? So the situations I use the future with going to are situations when I'm talking about plans and intentions. So here, it is something I am positive that's going to happen. It shows a level of certainty that it's going to happen. But differently from will, when I am dealing with predictions, the going to is the future you use for something you are working to happen. I see now there is a mistake, right? There is going to, so it's going to. But anyway, it's the future I use for plans and intentions. So, this year, as soon as the quarantine is over, I am going to start working out. I am going to, because it's something I'm planning, it's an intention, but it's something that I'm telling you that I'm definitely going to do. So it shows certainty, but in something that I take control over, right? So it's a plan, an intention. My parents are going to move to a smaller city. If it's something they're planning, they're working so that this scenario can take place, then I use the future with going to. And also, our material is going to present to us a situation where you have a prediction based in facts. Remember, we were talking that you make a prediction with will. You're using your imagination. You have no control over it. And you probably don't have facts to support that opinion. It's the way you imagine something. But when you have strong evidence that something is going to take place because the scenario is clear, then you make a prediction using going to. So I'm going to show you examples of each, okay? So when I say my friend is going to celebrate his birthday tomorrow, I have a future with going to because it's his plan, it's my friend's intention. It's something that he is managing to do. So I use the future with going to. And a scenario for a prediction based in facts is when I say the clouds are dark. It's going to rain soon. I can see the clouds. I can see they are dark in the sky. So I am making a prediction, but I have concrete base for what I'm saying. I have signs that this is going to happen. So it is going to rain soon. Okay? Like I said, guys, when you're speaking and the oral communication has certain characteristics, you don't plan so much on what you're going to say. So use either, just you're going to make yourself understood, okay? But be aware that there are these particular scenarios for the use of each. Gabriel? As for the way I organize the future with going to, I have the subject, which can be a pronoun or a noun, as we've seen before. We have the verb to be, and you have to make sure you use the correct form of the verb to be. So, if the subject is she, he, or it, you're going to have is. If the subject is we, they, you're going to have, or you, you're going to have are. And if you have the subject I, the verb to be will be in the form of am, okay? Then you add the expression going to, she is going to, and after going to, again, you're going to have a verb in its base form, which is the infinitive without to. You don't want to have two twos together. I'm going to two, right? So the verb in the base form. She is going to sleep all day. Okay? Again, now here you have the verb to be itself. So when you're dealing with questions or when you're dealing with the negative, you are going to work with the verb to be. She is going to sleep all day. The question is going to be, is she going to sleep all day? And the negative form will be, she isn't going to sleep all day. So basic verb to be scenario. Okay? Gabriel, do we have one more? This is the box you're going to find on page 74 of your book, and it shows the uses of will and going to. This is the next page. This is the upcoming lesson, but you can already take a look on everything we talked about today regarding the futures with going to and will. The situations you use them, the way to use them, and the way you deal with the structure. Okay? So this is a food for thought. This is what we're going to have for next class, okay? And from then on, we're going to exercise the future. So guys, this is it for our class today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys keep in touch throughout the week with your homework or with questions or with suggestions, because I'll make sure we add lots of interaction in our classes. Again, my name is Alhandra. I'm going to repeat it because it's not easy to remember. And it's been great. I hope it's been clear to you guys. And we'll see each other again next week on Friday. Okay? Thank you very much. Bye-bye, guys.